Hi, and welcome back to Ask Dr. B. So, this is part two of this two-part series on retirement. This topic was stimulated by a video that my wonderful sister-in-law Rebecca sent in. She posed the question and gave a number of different sort of thoughts and reactions to this time of life. And so, if you didn't see the first one, check it out. This video, I'm going to focus mostly on what can you do to really thrive during this time of life, whenever that might be for you. Maybe you're taking early retirement, or maybe you've worked just as long and hard as you can, and now you really want to take a step back or a step down from the same level of work. Whatever that is for you, whenever you're feeling like I'm in this stage of my life, what does that mean? So first of all, it really is time to redefine yourself and this time. And by that, I mean, let yourself think differently about the time of life that you're in. Sometimes people try to fool themselves. It typically doesn't work. Just sort of acknowledge, hey, I've left that position and maybe I'm doing some other things. Maybe I'm working part-time or maybe I'm volunteering, all great stuff. And we'll talk about, staying active, but it's a change, and recognizing that and embracing that, which, that word I always kind of hesitate to use because it sounds kind of hokey. But I think when we can do that emotionally, when we can really say, you know what, this is what this time is like for me, or this is what this means for me, this is what I want. And I referenced this before, but take this challenge on in the way that you've taken other challenges on in your life. Use what works for you. If you're a planner, if you're a list maker, if you like to organize, sort of like coordinating or organizing your life when you're facing a transition, get your house in order, so to speak. Use those skills. Use what you've used before. If you know that when you get sort of down, you need to, ramp up activity, or it can be, activity will change as we get older. That's okay. What that looks like, will change. That's okay. But do what you've done before. See this as a life transition. And if you're at this point, if you've made it to this point, you've had many. And so think about what has worked for you before. Okay. Face things directly. You may not have the same, as I mentioned before, embrace this time. What's different? You may not have the same responsibility that you had before. People may not be reporting to you. You may not have the same obligations before, and that may be a relief. You may not have the same worries or the weight on you, but that changes, right? How we think about ourselves and our identity. But face that. Think about that. Are there people that you miss who you used to be connected with because of your work? And you're not now, but you could be. They'd be interested in staying in touch, or at least find out if you miss them. So, think about what's different. What has really changed? Do you have less money, less income? And so you have to be more careful. Okay, what does that mean? Do you have to make different decisions? What does that mean? And again, all of this I said in the last video, and I'll say here too, it's very different if, in addition to your life changing because of retiring, you've also lost a partner along the way. That really means you have to think about and face, how do you want to live the rest of your life without that person perhaps who's been by your side, which is very challenging, but important to do for yourself. Okay. This is the next chapter of your life. It is this transition. It is a time that requires you to make some adjustments and reflect. And it is a time to think about that none of us live forever. What does that mean to you? If you have spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs, this is possibly and probably a good time to do some reflection on that and to talk with your faith-based leader. Whatever your beliefs are, it's always better to acknowledge how you think, what you feel, and it's important for us all Doesn't mean you have to dwell on it to think of, you don't have to dwell on your death, but it is valuable. It is useful. It is important because otherwise we spend a lot of time avoiding what we don't want to think about. And that can lead to secondary and tertiary challenges and problems because we're in avoidance mode. We're trying to, run away from something that, again, we all have to at some point come to terms with, whatever that means. Okay. So what for you, is it important to, do you want to have some kind of legacy? What does that mean? Is there a project or something you want to do? Could be getting your house in order so that whenever that, and it could be like 20 years from now, this could be a very long transition in terms of very long chapter of your life. But do you want to get your house in order, your things in order for your children, for your family? Do you want to make it easy for them to sort through or come or deal with whatever you leave behind? Is there something that you want to create, or get in order in terms of your work that you want to leave behind as a legacy? It's just useful to think about that because we all get to have a legacy. No matter what we did in life, we get to if we want to, we can think about what's important to me to leave behind for others. Or you may decide, you know what, I've left enough behind. I'm done. That's okay. I'm just saying, give it a little thought. What do you want to accomplish in this stage of your life? Is there anything else you want to accomplish? Some people, I want to travel. Okay. Well, what's realistic? How much, in terms of retirement funds, what's reasonable, what's realistic in terms of your health, your activity level? Great. Wonderful. Think about what you want to accomplish, what's important to you, and then make it happen as best as you can. And understand that like every transition, every time of life, we may have plans, but we have to adjust based on the reality of life. Things change, we change, life circumstances change. Okay, next I want to talk about strategies. Don't assume that this time of life will take care of itself. It doesn't. That being passive is not your friend. Be active. Decide what you want to do. Decide what it looks like. Develop a plan. Develop a structure. If you were very structured during your work life, probably good to be structured, at least in the early phases of this new time, so that it feels familiar to you. We are creatures of habit. It's partly why we struggle with transitions. We don't like them so much. Give yourself structure. Get up in the morning, have your coffee, read your paper, go to work, whether that means your new work. Maybe that means working on a project. Maybe that means going down to the library or looking up information about where you might want to volunteer your time or catching up with friends or family. Develop a structure. Create a schedule. Use the schedule to your benefit. It worked for you before. It will work for you now. Okay. Think about what you get out of this time and also what you might be losing. Let yourself feel whatever you feel and talk about that with people you trust. You might feel sad about what you are no longer working on. You might be, overjoyed that you're no longer have to live with the pressure that you had in your job or that financially now you're secure enough where you can live without that same kind of worry. You might be excited at times. Sometimes you might be disappointed. You thought maybe at this point in life you'd have, more time to travel or whatever those feelings are. Let yourself have them. If you are prone or interested in journaling, this is a good time to journal, to write what you think, write what you feel. Really try to focus on when you start to reminisce, try to think about what you've accomplished, all that you've done that you feel good about, raising your children, helping them get set up in their lives, the work that you accomplished, whatever those things are. And it's okay to deal with regrets, but try to deal with them gently. It really serves no purpose to stay there, to focus on that, to dwell on that. Everybody has regrets. Everybody makes mistakes. You can't do a whole lot about that. You can only do with what you've got now. So tolerate them, that you have them And maybe that's part of your legacy. Maybe you can share with others what you've learned, your kids, your grandkids. But don't focus only on those. Keep working if you want. Being retired doesn't mean you don't work. A lot of people have part-time jobs because they like to. Just make sure it's because you like to and because it fits your health and your activity level. Do you have activities that you want to weave into this new time? If you do, great. Get them organized, get your plan, get your schedule, go. Start doing. If not, find them. You can try different things, you can explore, but again, don't be passive, be active. Think about what you might like to do, what you might like to try. There are a lot of things out there, volunteerism and part-time job, different physical activities that might be something that you wish you could have done that you never had a chance to. You didn't have time, swimming or walking, a number of things. And of course, there are tons of groups that are focused on this time of life, things that you can do. So find them, try them. You can dump the ones you don't like. Be active, be organized in terms of planning. Do it with others. Engage others to do things with you. Keep learning. Keep your mind active. We know how important that is for all of us. It's very important at this time of life. Keep your mind engaged, whether it's reading crossword puzzles, going to lectures, learning a new skill, whatever works for you. Just keep your mind active. Watch your diet. Don't, just because you're not working the way you used to, don't let yourself go into bad habits with your diet, your eating, your whether how much wine do you have, how often, keep yourself healthy, your healthy habits, that will serve you well. Let go of control, as much as you can. Again, good at every stage of life. There are only so many things that we can ever control. We can really only control who we are, how we are right here and now. So thinking too much about the future, we can plan, but obsessing about or worrying about the past, not a whole lot we can do. As I mentioned, make sure you're taking care of your health by eating and watching, how much you drink and all of that. Exercising is good. There are also some other cool things you might want to try if you haven't. Things like meditation or yoga. I have been learning Tai Chi. I really love it. It's good for balance as we get older. Whatever age, but it's really a cool art form and it's fun and interesting. So journaling, I mentioned, art, and make sure that whatever you're doing, and whether it's an activity where it's out in the world or something that you're doing more in your own home or community, make sure you're connecting with others. Make sure you have relationships that will sustain you and that you are helping to sustain. Support is so important at every age with every challenge, but we know that as people get older, because they lose loved ones and friends, it's just the nature of life, they sometimes become isolated, and that isolation can be dangerous for our physical health and our mental health and our emotional health. So make sure that if you're not feeling like you have enough connections, it may be hard, but put yourself out there, reach out to family members, kids, and others who maybe can help you get connected to, whether it's a congregation or a community group or volunteering. Stay connected with others. Find people that you trust. Share what's going on for you. Share what's going on with them. As always, I've included some resources to help us thrive as we are in this stage of life of retirement. And I, again, want to thank my sister-in-law for sending this question in. Thank you all for watching, for sharing these videos with other people that you think could benefit. Together we can be well, but it's not a passive activity. It requires us all to be active, looking out for ourselves and for those we love. Thank you very much.